something is probably going to. I know enough about markets. Forget numbers. I know enough about markets to know when everybody's having a good time, something is probably going to change. Look out the window. Everybody's happy. The problem with that is it's been a very long time. And when everybody's happy for a very long time, it usually means something is going to make people unhappy. Whether that's a stock market decline or economic decline or both, I don't know. But I am certainly skeptical of the U.S. right now. I've sold my U.S. stocks, but that doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. But I'm certainly worried and skeptical.
You mentioned how you've sold a lot of stocks recently. Can you walk our viewers through the signs you're seeing at the moment that are making you so skeptical?
First of all, it's the longest period in American history, which would make me raise questions or look for answers. Secondly, that's true of many stock markets in the world. It's rare that everybody's having a good time at the same time. That is another reason to be skeptical, or at least to ask questions. And as I look around, I see a lot of new people coming into the market, talking about how easy it is, how much fun it is, and you can make money. Easy money. Well, I've always learned to be skeptical of easy money. Now, wait, Elijah, let me make sure you understand. I like easy money. I would love a lot of easy money, but I've been around long enough to worry.
It definitely is concerning. And you've mentioned this before, that we're seeing really the debt, not just in the US, but around the world, explode. And we're seeing this debt crisis. And we can't kick the can down the road forever. We have to feel the pain at some time. I did want to ask you a bit more about the coming Trump administration, because the first time he was in office, we kind of saw business as usual when it comes to the economy. We saw more stimulus, more going into debt. So it doesn't seem like Trump is different on one hand if you just look at the first administration. But if you do look at some of the appointments he's making, it seems like he's going for anti-establishment, and he's bringing on Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to apparently cut a lot of the fat from government, cut the deficit. Your perspective on that, do you think we're going to see any real change this time?
I'm skeptical. I've heard this story before. I'm old enough to have heard many stories like this. I've read about this for many, many years. I'm skeptical, but hooray, if he does it, we'll probably all be better off, at least eventually. In the first stage, we might suffer, because whenever you do a lot of cutting, somebody suffers. But eventually, if he does it, and if he's successful, we'll all be better off. But I'm skeptical. I've heard it before.
Definitely. And one of the picks I did want to ask you about in Trump's cabinet is, the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. He seems to be a fan of gold. He says gold is his biggest position. He's noting that central banks are accumulating gold. And interestingly enough, his connection with you, it sounds like he actually interned under you back in the day. Do you think that having someone like Scott, can he bring change in any way fiscally to the U.S. government?
Well, if nothing else, the very fact that he has these positions will cause people to discuss things that they might not have discussed otherwise, or might have just dismissed out of hand otherwise. So, yes, it's going to cause a discussion, if nothing else. And if there's a discussion, more and more people look at things like gold and silver, just because, if the high levels in Washington are talking about gold, people will too. They will think about it. So if nothing else, it's going to open more discussion, which we haven't had much of in a long time.
Now, with your personal experience working with Scott, can you say anything in particular that you think might change, or did you want to speak a little bit about having Scott intern under you, what that was like and what you learned about him?
Well, listen, it was a very, very long time ago. He knew nothing about the stock market, which is why he wanted an internship. He was enthusiastic and eager to learn. He's a smart kid. He went to Yale, after all. That seems to say he must be a smart guy. I just remember he was enthusiastic and eager, which is a good sign. And obviously something happened that he didn't become a journalist. He went into the markets.
And I know he learned a lot from you. In an interview that he did, he said that one of the things that you stressed when he was interning with you is research, research, research. And you focused on, when investing, do the numbers match really the story out there? You always wanted to do the research. Can you expand on that, your approach there, and how, and kind of your approach to investing?
Well, I've been investing a long time. I knew nothing when I started. I was worse than Scott probably, but I realized very early that the numbers were extremely important. You had to understand the numbers, especially because I found out that most people didn't pay attention to the numbers. They didn't really care. They just listened to hot stocks and hot stories, and that made people happy. I realized very early that I had to understand the numbers, that the numbers were extremely important. And so, for whatever reason, that's been a focus of mine ever since I began. I learned the hard way that you better understand the numbers, and I hope I still do.
Now, if you look at the numbers, right, where we are right now, you mentioned earlier in the interview that you have gotten out of the U.S. stock market. You're selling a lot. You've sold a lot of your positions elsewhere as well. Can you expand, I guess, and remind our viewers again, what about the numbers are giving you so much concern at this moment?
Well, Elijah, first of all, nearly every investment market around the world is at or near an all-time high. I know enough about markets. Forget numbers. I know enough about markets to know when everybody's having a good time, something is probably going to change. And of course, the reason things are at all-time high is because the numbers don't support the present price. Well, the numbers in theory don't support the present prices. So that makes me skeptical. Does it mean I'm right? No. Oh, Scott, I make many mistakes in my life, many mistakes. But I do know that at the moment, nearly all markets are making new highs, and that is often a cause for concern. Often, not always.
Well, your track record has definitely proven that whatever mistakes you've made, they're hardly noticeable, and you've learned from them. I did want to ask you about, I guess, as we look into this crisis that we're going to be having with the debt, and if we are going to see a stock market crash because things are so overvalued right now, what does that mean for the average person, right? I mean, we have people listening to this show who are, just middle class. We have people who are upper class, right? So we have a wide range of viewers. But I wanted to ask you, like, if people are hurting right now, which it sounds like a lot of people are doing very well. Stock markets are at all-time highs. But at the same time, obviously, Trump's reelection shows that some people on Main Street are really hurting right now with inflation and all of that. So for maybe the people on Main Street, how will this impact them really financially if we do see this crisis?
If you're looking back at history, every time there's been a stock market decline, I didn't say crash, you said crash, but I'm talking about decline, a serious decline. It has hurt many, and it has hurt most investors. Some people, of course, do well, but nearly always when there's a long, big stock market decline, most investors suffer. So my advice, please, to everybody, only invest in what you yourself know a lot about. Everybody right now wants and is eager to have a hot tip. Be skeptical of hot tips. Hot tips can ruin you and probably will ruin you. So just be very, very careful